Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are looking at what I can only describe as a seismic shift, a fundamental architectural rethink happening in enterprise AI. If you build AI applications or if you manage the teams that do, well, the rules of the game has just changed. Basically overnight. We're talking about Google's launch of the Gemini file search tool and really the expanded power of its Vertex AI search platform. Our mission for this deep dive is pretty simple. Why does this one product launch force every data architect out there to, well, instantly reevaluate their entire build versus buy strategy? This isn't just a new feature.
No, it's an inflection point. And that build versus buy calculus, that's really the heart of it all. For years, Retrieval-Augmented Generation RAG, it was, the infrastructure project of the decade. It took specialized teams, bespoke engineering, everything. But what we're seeing now is the industrialization of RAG. It's turning what was a complex, self-managed system into a simple, reliable API call.
Okay, so let's unpack that. And I think to really get it, we have to start with the memory of pain. Let's talk about ROG 1.0.
Yeah.
The MLOps nightmare. If you built these systems in, say, 2023, you know exactly what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
The elaborate pipelines, managing vector databases, wrestling with embedding models, and, the agonizing over chunking strategies. For anyone listening who might be a data leader but not, a hands-on MLOps engineer, what are we talking about here? What's the actual pain? That's a really important distinction. ROG 1.0, it was all custom infrastructure. And you built it for one reason, to give the LLM knowledge it wasn't trained on.
And to do that, you need this specialized brain, which is your vector database.
Right.
It stores your documents not as text, but as numerical representations of meaning vectors. But the biggest headache was always chunking, the chunking strategy.
Right, yeah.
You can't just feed an entire 100-page manual into a model. You have to slice it. You have to cut it into these perfect context-rich little pieces or chunks.
And if you get it wrong...
If your chunks are too small, you lose the context. Too big, the LLM gets confused. And every single time a document changed or you updated your embedding model, you had to reprocess everything, re-chunk it all. It was constant, delicate maintenance.
So it's not just patching servers. It's infrastructure maintenance with like an added layer of linguistic nuance.
Exactly. You weren't just fixing a server, you were debugging failed context retrieval over a long weekend because a pipeline broke somewhere.
A significant fixed labor burden.
That's it. And what we're calling RG 2.0, this changes that equation completely. It's an industrialized, ATI-driven, fully managed RG system that's just baked right into the Gemini API.
The infrastructure worries just disappear.
They do.
It's kind of staggering when you list out all the tasks that this abstracts away. What specifically is now off the engineering team's plate?
Well, basically the entire end-to-end operation. The platform now handles file storage automatically. It figures out the best chunking strategy with its own logic.
So no more agonizing over chunk size.
Nope. It generates the embeddings on demand, it manages the vector storage and the indexing, and it injects the right context into the prompt at query time. It's the productization of that whole pipeline.
It reminds me of the IaaS analogy from 20 years ago. Infrastructure as a service.
Oh, absolutely.
Before IaaS, you were worried about buying servers, racking them, maintaining them in your data center.
Right, the physical layer.
And then AWS came along and you just stopped worrying about that. You just paid for compute. And now with Managed RAG, you stop worrying about the vector database, the chunking, the pipelines.
You just pay for the context retrieval itself. You're paying for a capability, not for a piece of infrastructure.
Which brings us straight to the money. This completely changes the total cost of ownership, the TCO for enterprise AI. A lot of leaders, they looked at DIY RAG and thought, well, the open source vector databases are free, so this must be cheaper.
That's the comfortable lie. The uncomfortable truth is that the real crushing cost of DIY RAG is the continuous operational labor.
The people.
It's always the people. To maintain these systems, to scale them, monitor them, debug them, you need specialized and very expensive MLOps and data engineers, and their salaries, that's a fixed expense. You're paying them whether your Argan bot gets 1 query a day or 1 million. That fixed cost, it just silently dwarfs any saving you got from using free software.
So the managed approach flips the financial model on its head.
Completely.
Instead of all this fixed cost and staffing, your costs become elastic. They're variable. You only pay when a user actually makes an API call. It aligns the cost perfectly with usage. I have to push back just a little here, though, on the economics. So Google is offering free storage, free query time embeddings, And the initial indexing is cheap. You said about 18 cents per million tokens.
That's right.
Isn't this just a classic vendor lock-in play? They get you hooked on a low price, you index your entire core knowledge base in their system, and then, they can raise the prices later.
That is absolutely the strategic risk. Every leader has to weigh that. And we'll get more into vendor lock-in.
Yeah.
But for now, the economic reality is just overwhelming for, I'd say, 90% of use cases.
Even with potential price hikes.
Even then, the cost difference between paying 18 cents per million tokens versus the annual salary and overhead for just one MLOps engineer is vast. And you'll probably need more than one. You're paying for stability, and you're offloading the risk of operational failure.
That's fair. So it raises that critical question for you, the listener. Is your highly specialized, high-cost engineering talent currently just making sure your vector database doesn't fall over?
Or are they driving competitive advantage? The managed approach frees up that expensive human capital.
Okay, so let's move from pure economics to pure engineering. Because this shift, it also solves some really deep, persistent technical problems that RJ 1.0 always struggled with.
Right.
Specifically, the out-of-domain data problem.
This is where it gets really interesting. It highlights the basic limitation of pure vector retrieval. Semantic search, it's brilliant at understanding meaning.
Like if I ask, what happens if I take a sabbatical?
Exactly. It knows sabbatical is related to long-term leave or HR policy. It gets the concept. But enterprise data is full of arbitrary stuff, things that have no semantic meaning outside your company.
Like product SKUs.
Products used like B47, TRX, 9901, or proprietary code names, client IDs. A pure vector model struggles with these strings because they just look like random noise to the language model.
So if a user asks for documentation on that specific S key, the search might just fail.
It might completely fail because the model doesn't recognize that sequence of letters and numbers as a distinct thing.
So you can't rely on just one type of search. You need both.
Precisely. And the solution that's built into these managed platforms like Vertex AI Search is integrated hybrid search. It combines the conceptual power of vector search, the meaning, with the precision of token-based keyword search, the identity. You get the best of both worlds.
And trying to replicate that yourself.
Yeah.
Well, that's where the TCO argument comes back with a vengeance.
Oh, it's a massive undertaking.
You're not just running two search engines. You have to harmonize the results, you have to weigh the relevance scores from two totally different systems, and then build ranking algorithms to decide which answer is better.
It's replicating decades of specialized search engineering. Google has productized that expertise into a turnkey feature. For most companies, building that in-house is just architectural vanity. It's not a strategic necessity.
That said, we should be balanced here. The basic, lightweight Gemini file search tool, it does have its limitations.
It does. And data professionals really need to understand this. It's optimized strictly for static, unstructured document collections.
And the critical constraint there is.
It can't handle structured data. It can't effectively ingest, manage, or model the relationships in your databases, in your tables, your operational systems. Your customer records, sales transactions, live inventory. The file search tool looks at documents. It can't query a live database.
Yeah. And if we connect that to where enterprise AI is headed, why is that such a big deal? Why is file-only RAG not enough for the future?
Because the next phase isn't static Q&A bots, it's complex autonomous agents.
Right.
These agents need to interact with live business processes. They need to, say, analyze a PDF invoice, then cross-reference the payment status in a SQL database, and then update the CRM.
All in one workflow?
All in one workflow. And for that, they need live, multimodal, structured memory. A pile of static documents just won't cut it. The agent has to understand the schema, the relationships in your live operational data.
So the choice isn't really just DIY versus managed anymore. It's about choosing the right tier inside the managed ecosystem.
That's exactly it. The lightweight file search tool is perfect for an internal HR bot, but if you need complex agent workflows that connect to live customer data, you have to move up to the full Vertex AI Search and ARB engine. It's designed for that complexity. Okay, now let's address the elephant in the room. Vendor lock-in?
This is the strategic calculation that keeps CIOs up at night. By going all in on a managed solution, you're committing to Google Cloud, the Gemini API, and their proprietary Gemini embedding model. You lose that architectural freedom.
It is the core trade-off. There's no way around it. On one side, you get guaranteed performance, you slash your operational overhead, and you move much faster. But on the other side, you sacrifice that independence, the ability to easily swap out components. Maybe you want to use a different foundation model or an open source embedding model for IP reasons. That flexibility gets severely constrained.
So when does that independence matter enough to justify the huge cost and effort of DIY?
I think the decision framework is becoming pretty clear. If RAG is a core competitive differentiator for you.
Meaning your retrieval logic itself is your secret sauce.
Exactly. If it's unique, proprietary, and gives you a real market advantage, then DIY might still be necessary. You're protecting that IP by owning the infrastructure.
But if it's not?
If RAG is just a necessary but non-differentiating capability, your internal HR bot, your corporate knowledge base, an FAQ bot, then the operational efficiency and lower TCO of the managed platform, it just outweighs the value of independence.
You're trading control for guaranteed reliability.
And performance.
And performance,
Yeah.
right. Let's talk about latency. Custom DIY rack, with all its moving parts. It can be slow. You're constantly fighting that accuracy versus latency trade-off.
Constantly. Whereas platforms like Vertex AI Search are engineered from day one to be low-latency platforms. And for some high-throughput applications, that stability is non-negotiable.
What kind of applications are we talking about?
Think about fraud detection systems, real-time anomaly detection in log streams, high-performance recommendation engines. These are places where milliseconds matter. Trying to replicate that kind of stability and speed at scale, it's incredibly expensive, maybe impossible for most companies.
Okay, let's bring this all together.
Yeah.
For the data leaders listening, navigating this huge architectural shift, what's the strategic playbook? We've distilled 4 key recommendations.
Implement a managed first policy. For all your general-purpose, non-differentiating knowledge applications, the TCO and performance benefits are just superior. Go managed by default.
Makes sense.
Reserve DIY RAG. Only use custom builds for things that are a true competitive advantage, applications that require truly novel retrieval logic, or where you have strict regulatory mandates for data sovereignty.
The exceptions, not the rule.
Exploit vendor IP strategically. Leverage those proprietary features like hybrid search. If your company runs on specific SECU codes or internal jargon, that feature is prohibitively expensive to build yourself. So lean on the vendor's IP.
Use their decades of research to your advantage.
Plan for agentic evolution. You have to understand that the basic file search tool is a great start, but it's not the end game. Your data strategy has to plan for integrating RAG with your live, structured, operational databases for the complex agents of the future.
I think the final takeaway here is that RG 2.0 demands immediate strategic attention. This isn't just about a new tool. It's about strategically reallocating your most valuable asset, your engineers, away from just maintaining infrastructure and toward creating real business value.
Absolutely. And that brings us to a final provocative thought for you to consider as you digest all this. Given that performance, reliability, and cost efficiency are now largely guaranteed and abstracted away by these managed platforms, what novel retrieval logic, something specifically tailored to your industry's unique problems, something no general platform could ever offer, what represents the only remaining valid reason to commit your best people to building a custom RG infrastructure? Use that question to audit your own AI applications. It will tell you where your teams should really be spending their time. You now have the essential knowledge to navigate this architectural inflection point. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.